World Development System. Chapter 291. Josephine had a red face as she blushed and spoke with a stutter. Who is vying for his time? Don't speak nonsense. I am only training swordsmanship under him and not deliberately delaying up my learning. I am going to eat before the banquet starts. Don't stop me, goodbye. Josephine blushed as she hurried away immediately. Sally laughed as she saw Josephine hurrying away. Meanwhile, Eva coughed twice as she blushed as she spoke. You are only imagining things. Sally smiled and teased her a bit. Really? Weren't you designing John's cape only to be found later by me, and then it was me who made Blue Paradise as a whole to prepare for John's crowning ceremony so that no one suspects you? Eva snorted and spoke. Humph, you have your own intentions as well. If I remember correctly, you were quite startled when you saw me designing the cape. Eva tickled her waist and spoke. You think you can hide everything from me? I have known you for a long time. Don't think I don't know. Sally meanwhile smiled and spoke mysteriously. I wonder. Well, let's go ahead and see today's show anyway. Ha ha ha, please stop tickling. Eva snorted as she muttered in a small voice, acting all cool and indifferent in front of me won't work. Of course, you wonder because you were afraid of your family previously if they targeted him for vying love from royal blood. It was only now after the start of the war that you exposed some of your feelings. I am sure you quite low-key wish for your father to use you as a political tool if it is marrying John, or else you wouldn't even leave this domain if your father wishes to use you as a political tool. Sally blushed as she didn't speak and pretended to not hear her and looked at the events that were taking place. Quill meanwhile spoke of the 5-point discussion and plan for settling the matter of trade, cooperation, and other problems that might have occurred. In the big room, currently, John, Friedrich, Melanie and Vlad were present as John sighed and broke the silence and spoke first. I guess you had a fine journey traveling here. I would again like to thank you for your help in the previous war where you resisted the schemes of Elias as well as your ministers and elders internally. It would have been quite tough for us to root out the chaos-spreading spies of Elias during the war without the Master's help. Friedrich nodded and spoke. No need to mention it. Looking at you, it seems you have personally experienced war. If I am not wrong, you should be strong enough to battle Vlad just looking at your battle senses. The only thing you lack is experience, but you seem quite adaptable. What do you think about selling more of your weapons to us? John thought a bit and spoke. That shouldn't be a problem. However, cannons and guns won't be sold for a while, but we can sell you our best ballistas with the use of magic metal. You can even buy our very best ballistas technology if you want to build them on a massive scale. I am sure you will be satisfied with those weapons if you compare it with others. Friedrich was quite surprised and spoke. Okay, I will buy those as it is anyway better than the lousy cannons of Elias. Previously, I saw those roads and looking at it I am quite impressed by the maintenance as well as those new things called tires used on carts which were replaced by one of the shops when we stopped to come here. However, the most I am impressed was by that institution called bank. I guess you financed the whole railway and road project or electrification project with the help of bank, correct? John nodded and spoke, as expected from Lord Duke. Yet, we did finance a lot of our projects from banks. I wonder what you would want to know about them. John meanwhile thought, however, I don't think we took that much loans. Anyway, keeping everyone guessing is okay for now, or else everyone will be red with envy. Friedrich smiled and spoke. You have created quite a problem for everyone in the region with the formation of your banks. So I would at least want to know more about banks to run it efficiently, as the formation of banknotes is inevitable for the countries here, or a ban of your currency in our domain. Or maybe we will go with banks without banknotes but only gold. John smiled and understood as he spoke. Well, I only wanted to use the resources of Sky more efficiently and hence the creation of banks. No one is banned for transactions in other currencies, you see. Friedrich thought, that tariff is the problem when people are asked to pay in Sky dollars. And then there is a discount if people pay in Sky dollars. Friedrich nodded without exposing and spoke, I guess it can't be helped. Anyway, my official request would be that you allow Fire Abyss to buy printers for the printing of banknotes and newspapers as well. I heard from Vlad that you are going to introduce a set of home appliance machines that would require common magic crystals to run it. So I would like to know more on it and gain some advantage over others. John thought a bit and spoke, I guess it can't be hidden. Yes, we have done a lot of research and are able to convert magic energy into electricity for energy. However, there are other forms of energy like coal, oil, hydropower, petrol, diesel, and others. Currently, we are preferring magic energy because of its purity and better mobility as compared to the other liquid forms. At the same time, according to our recent research, these common magic crystals can be recharged a few times and only become useless after 12 charges. As for other grades of magic crystals, we are still conducting our research and experiments. So they have a better value as compared to other forms of energy for now. However, magic crystal would become 2 to 3 times more expensive as compared to other forms of energy. I hope you can keep this information a secret for now. However, you can export them to us as we will need a lot of labor force to extract them. So I would like to save time and labor workforce anyway. Friedreich nodded and spoke, there is no problem, we would anyway like to export common magic crystals and low-grade magic crystals as they are all over the place lying without any productivity and are in abundance in the Fire Abyss Kingdom because of numerous fire volcanoes. What do you think about selling us the medicinal formulas that you created? Friedreich hesitated a bit and spoke. At this time Melanie spoke immediately, don't even think about it. I am previously agreeing to your requests because of your help to John in the previous war. Humph. Vlad also spoke at this time, Master, I think we should focus more on the connection of all the cities and villages at Blusia Duchy via the roads to improve trade as well as improve the security of remote places by connection. Friedreich shook his head and spoke as he understood the weight of the request if he made it. Nat, it would be quite excessive of me to request John to build roads for us. It is not a small affair. Vlad thought, I don't think it cost us a lot here at Sky in the construction of roads. Maybe he doesn't know of the costs. Just as Vlad was about to speak, John smiled and spoke, I think we can build the roads for you, but there would be one condition. As for those medicines, we can sell it to you cheaply at marginal prices, but we can't sell the formulas as those formulas are the foundation of those companies in return of mining rights of copper ore, aluminum ores, and coal ores. Friedreich nodded and spoke, okay, that shouldn't be a problem, we anyway have a lot of copper ores, we can give you mining rights of one at our borders. As for roads, please speak, as long as it is an acceptable condition, it should be possible to move forward this project of constructing the roads. John nodded and spoke, we can fund and build all the roads for you in exchange for toll rights, i.e. we will charge travelers using our roads on certain checkpoints, or else they can use other roads for travel. In short, these roads would solely be commercial roads for commercial benefits. Friedreich then frowned and furrowed his brows as he asked, how much do you plan to charge at the toll points? John spoke, it would depend on the weight and value of the carriage and also the number of people. However, it should range from 10 coppers to 1 gold coin depending on the number of carriages. The basic costs for a person would be 10 coppers each side. Friedreich rose his brows up and spoke, Vlad, what is the volume and number of merchants going to the Sky for the last 2 months after the roads were opened up? Vlad spoke, which surprised Duke Friedreich immediately. Duke muttered in a slow voice, it seems, we can easily get back the return on investment in 3 years, and depending on the increase of volume of trade it will only be faster. The only thing is the public anger when we charge them for using our roads. But this seems quite a profitable venture for both me and the merchants, as they can save time as well as maintenance costs. Those tire companies from John's domain would also earn a fortune, but cart maintenance companies would enter a slump. Maybe I should promote those things called bicycles for travel. It seems a lot needs to be done. Friedreich smiled a bit and finally spoke after some thinking, John, you are quite cunning. No wonder you are quite successful in business. Okay, I will allow you to get the toll rights, but you will only get the toll rights for 8 years, and that too 50% of the rights only, as I will invest 50% from my side for building the roads and take the other 50% of toll taxes." John nodded and spoke, "It's okay, it is still quite a profitable business for both of us. As for calming the public anger when we charge a toll, you can simply say to the people that Sky had built this road with Blucia Duchy for commercial purposes and to recoup the investment we are charging toll taxes so that people involved in the project can't complain. Tell them that this road wouldn't have been built in the first place if investment for constructing the road was not there from the investors. I have one request from you, and that is to lend me, Master Vlad, as he is continuously rejecting me, to accept the position of defense minister. After all, he is one who taught me how to fight." Melanie and Vlad were quite stunned after hearing the talks between John and Friedrich. Melanie thought deeply and nodded satisfactorily. "I never thought John would come up with something called toll taxes. I guess the investment in all the roads would require about 10 to 20 million gold coins even with the new tech. But it is quite easily possible to get back the investment in 2 years after watching the volume in the last 2 months. The most probable reason that merchants are using this road is because of the requirement of low maintenance of their beast carts and being able to move at faster speeds on the roads, and not to mention the safety and patrols of the local guards to keep the roads safer. Previously, the royal family didn't try to build roads because the time required was stretched from 1 year to 3 years, and hence a loss of time, money, and labor even with the use of magicians. It was only during the wars that roads were built at a very fast pace. However, John requesting something so valuable from Friedrich is definitely a pit for him. However, Vlad himself has a very high value. Friedrich smiled and thought as John finally requested something valuable from him, "I should try out our plan now. I should go according to the plan and gauge his reactions." Friedrich nodded only a bit and spoke, "Okay, we will talk about this business another time. I wanted to first know about your thoughts on the current situation in the region. What do you think about the views of Fire Abyss Kingdom, Brindil Kingdom, and Elias towards you and Sky?" John thought a bit and spoke, "I guess they view me cautiously after watching the fire prowess of my weapons. But they might think that I am naive since I have decided to give back Dolores to Elias. I think some might be plotting against me by making some alliances. Well, I am quite aware of their understanding towards other countries, so I wouldn't be surprised by that evaluation." Chapter 292. Friedrich nodded and spoke, "I will tell you the truth, currently, most of them are vying for your mana-restoring pills for improvement in cultivation and your latest weapons for domination. You would most likely face a war in about 5 to 10 years when they develop weapons to counter you. The situation of Blucia domain is quite problematic, and hence I can't lend Vlad to you without a good reason." Frederick showed a helpless expression as he sighed and continued, "However, it is possible to lend him, but I only have one request, i.e. I hoped that you would ally with me and go for a political marriage with Diana. As far as I know, Diana likes you, so there shouldn't be any problem, and I wouldn't have proposed this in the first place if she didn't like you. I am sure even you have seen a different behavior from her for quite some time." He continued with an earnest expression, "I wouldn't be forced, but our domain is in such a situation. Currently, the problem is that Prince Chad is vying for Diana's favor for the political power of the Blucia family to fight against his brothers, and from now on Apollyon too would try court us, since he would want to invade you from my borders to catch you unaware later on, and also to make a good grip on Blucia Duchy. In my opinion, this marriage between you and Diana will certainly solidify our relationship and create a buffer zone for your borders against the schemes of Fire Abyss. Previously as well, we prevented them from using our domain to invade Elias on Vlad's instructions, and hence kept strict patrols. Apollyon and others might now try to rock my boat by funding my brother Draco and build up schemes, so it would be problematic for you in the future as well if he gets power in my family." John thought deeply and understood that what Friedrich said was not wrong when it came to the internal affairs of the Blucia domain and Fire Abyss Kingdom. Melanie immediately roared as she had expected some schemes from Friedrich and spoke, "Bullshit, you shameless old coot, you are just finding a reason to tie down John with your old favors and placing him in a difficult situation. John, I have not requested anything with you, but if you agree with this then you will have to marry Eva and those girls as well. I won't take no for an answer. Those lasses are even making a dress for your crowning ceremony just to express their feelings, just so you notice it. I won't wait any longer if this goes on and you fall in this old coot's trap. And don't think that I don't know that you act dense purposely to avoid the feelings of those girls. Melanie thought, I hope this can make John reject this old coot. Nah, most likely he won't, since he has put John in such a problematic situation. John was about to nod as he thought of Melanie's words, which made a lot of sense, but suddenly Friedrich spoke immediately. Friedrich smiled as he spoke decisively, what if I allow Vlad to become the defense minister in your domain without any restrictions? So don't reject it quickly. Additionally, we are tied to you already after my help to you in the previous war, and hence there is a peculiar situation for me currently. This tie-up with you can only be broken if I make a political marriage of Diana with other heirs, Chad, or one of the children of other dukes. However, if this alliance with you is done, then Fire Abyss family won't make their move easily, as Duchy of Thorns, Duchy of Blusia and your influence will make a balance of power against their bloc. Duchy of Thorns has a grudge against Fire Abyss family for scheming against their daughter Apophis by giving her location to Elias when she was at Elias. Their scheme was to make Lukov the enemy of Lionheart and also to make the Thorn family the vanguard in the next war, in which they succeeded. This was only known after 3 years of investigation from our side. This is one of the reasons why I don't trust them easily when it comes to a political marriage or anything. And there is one more thing, Diana would surely not agree to a political marriage unless she is marrying someone whom she loves, and hence I proposed this, as I know of her thinking from a young age. I am sure she would rather run away rather than agree to this sort of marriage. Friedrich thought as he looked at John's hesitating face, I guess this push should work regardless of Melanie's roaring, maybe I should add more benefits and he will be unable to reject it. Anyway, I have nothing to lose for now. Vlad too smiled and didn't meet John's eyes, as he too was involved in this scheme of Duke Friedrich to make John his son-in-law and was in favor of John marrying Diana, and hence he was rejecting John for a long time to take any ministerial post as a bargaining chip for Lord Duke. Melanie meanwhile thought, this scheming old coot. It's good that I came to this meeting, or else he would have surely to snatched my disciple with his schemes under my eyes. Looking at John's hesitance, Friedrich took out a vial of blood as he offered it to John. To offer my sincerity, I will offer you our ancestral blood of the first ancestor. This blood is useful to all the species and can improve the body of anyone absorbing it via our magic cultivation technique. We demons usually integrate about 60% of blood, and people of our family integrate about 80%, while other species will integrate about 10% to 40% depending on the capacity of their bodies. This time, both Melanie and Vlad were quite stunned after watching Friedrich take out the ancestral blood, as they knew about the scarcity of ancestral blood, as it was usually only given to heirs who would inherit the duchy or very important retainers who would safeguard it. Looking at the reactions of both Melanie and Vlad, John too got interested and took the blood vial in his hands and started to scan it with his AI, Sarah. Suddenly Sarah's voice came inside his head. John wanted to give blood vial to Friedrich immediately, but Friedrich clasped the bottle in John's hand. Friedrich spoke seriously as he took his hand back, don't reject it. Take your time to reject till your crowning ceremony, as this is the highest form of sincerity from me. After successful scanning, Sarah's voice came. Detecting very high quality demon blood. Beneficial for the user's body to improve it multiple folds. Probable integration percentage, 95% 100%. Integrating the blood immediately with body and soul cleansing method to remove the scanning of that voyeur up in the sky. Suddenly the blood started coming out of the vial without anyone's notice and started integrating with John's body as magic flowed out of John's body subconsciously and covered the blood vial. Immediately all the people present were stunned as they saw the subconscious reaction of the blood and integrating with John's body. Friedrich thought, subconscious reaction of blood without the magical technique of our clan. How is this possible? Damn it, it can't be helped. I better help him integrate it now, or else the blood will be wasted. I hope it at least reaches 30% of the integration since we haven't prepared anything. Melanie too reacted quickly and used her healing technique on John, as most of the time it would create a backlash during a blood integration even with multiple preparations. Melanie then spoke immediately, "Vlad, go to my pharmacy and immediately bring the blue phony X herb, blood of a golden crow, 5 snow fruits and a vial of potion from the inner cabinet which you know of. It has a label of life rejuvenating potion." Friedreich nodded to Vlad immediately as he provided the demon energy to John to stabilize his condition. Meanwhile, Vlad immediately left via the window and headed to bring the required ingredients for John. At this time, blood was integrating with John's body in a very steady pace as there weren't any signs of backlash till now. After half an hour, Vlad came with Melanie's first aid kit along with all the required important ingredients. Friedreich observed closely and spoke, "Now this is suspicious. I have never seen such a steady integration of ancestral blood even in our family. What is going on? It is as if he is the ancient ancestor himself. It seems purification as well as top-notch, at least better than our technique." After 1 hour, Melanie started healing John and spoke, "It seems he is losing magic energy at a fast pace because of such high purification and integration. Vlad, give John the potion in small intervals while I prepare the other potion. It will be done immediately." Sarah's voice was continuously coming inside John's head as he was concentrating on integrating the blood. Using life rejuvenating potions instead of life energy to purify the blood. Purification is at 31% currently. John's body was meanwhile showing changes as the integration continuously took place. While at the same time both Melanie and Friedreich were getting shocked every minute after watching the purification and integration of the blood into John's body. Friedreich murmured, "How is this possible? His body is continuously purifying the ancestral blood without any leakage of the same. Is he our ancestor in disguise? I should check his blood and energy if he has any features of a demon. No. It seems he is completely a human. How is it possible for integration to be above 50% for a non-demon?" During this process, there were 4 moments where John was about to start using his root life force and was only helped by Melanie, Friedreich, and once by the system to cope up with the problem. 100% purification. Complete purification of blood. Your status of being watched by an alien entity is gone. At last, I can work in peace with that voyeur gone. Please rest for a few days to recuperate the life energy and full status of your body. Congratulations on upgrading the system and increasing your brain efficiency by 10 times in analyzing and scanning data from the surrounding environment. It is advised to the host to collect high-purity source cells of other species for higher biological transformation and evolution. Completion of a hidden S-grade task, blocking the prying eyes of powerful hidden entities. Congratulations on earning 700 million points. You can now access the second floor of the system mall. At the same time, the amount of interest rate on credit is decreased by 5% to 25%. There will be a discount on the items on the first floor of the system mall. Congratulations on winning 3 gift boxes. Meanwhile, in the other realm, one of the angels under Irmela suddenly lost the viewing capacity under John's domain. Suddenly there was fog over John and his domain as the angel roared, "What the hell is this? How is this possible?" The angel headed and met Irmela as he reported, "My lord, we have lost contact and can't see that sinner John neither his domain. What should we do? It looks like he has formed a contract with one of those guys from other species." John too was quite surprised that such a transformation had taken place and changed his status from being watched. It was only now that Melanie, Friedreich, and Vlad calmed down after watching the complete integration of blood with John's body. All of them had shocked reactions on their faces as this was the first time that the integration of blood had gone so smoothly without any mishaps with a complete 100% purification. Chapter 293. John looked at his body and thought, "It looks like the number of my meridians has increased by 4 times, which can absorb more magical power, and according to the system I can take in more oxygen. Externally, a little bit of my physique and hair color has changed. It seems the tone on my face has changed as well. My power has increased a lot and it seems I can squarely fight against Master. The system will be updating for the next 48 hours. Host's longevity and life energy have increased to 596 years and is comparable to demons. Your status as a human has changed to evolved human. This is a new branch in human species and hence no alien entity can peep on you via blood and magic energy as you have unique blood and magic energy. A piece of advice: from now on you should be careful of those alien entities as they might consider you as a threat. Updating status. Name: John. Status: human to evolved human. Physique: comparable to demons and devils alike, while at the same time the system has modified your meridians better than others. 2 times as compared to demons and devils and 4 times as compared to humans. Titles: Child of Chaos, by all the alien entities, King of Sky Kingdom, uncrowned, First King of Men, given by your subjects for removing slavery, Troublemaker, by the alien entities called gods. Powers: small status check of everything with enough mana, evolved eyes, multitasking, currently able to multitask 12 things at a time, super strength, super stamina, sharp shooting, two-handed swordsmanship, dagger techniques of Vlad, ghost steps, strategize, podiwondering, pharmacist, alchemist, pill concocting, weaponsmith. Short teleportation, super scanning, super speed, super regeneration, summoning, sealed, super senses, ultra high reaction speed. Super system mode, sealed, cloning, sealed, space shift. Shape shifting, sealed. Resistant to medium grade poisons. Resistant to diseases and curses. Status: lifted the curse of Irmela by evolution. Other powers are not needed to be known by the host. John furrowed his brows as he saw the 2 titles, Child of Chaos, Troublemaker. Those assholes are really asking for a beating. Well, this upgrade is quite good. Frederick was quite stunned and muttered, "How is this possible? I still can't believe it. Even I, 50 years ago had an integration of 86% with a lot of resources, was called a genius in the last 20 generations. Moreover, after 90% it becomes extraordinarily hard as written in our records. It seems now I have a problem in my hands. That old man Ryan and all the others would certainly chew me out if they get to know that I lost the ancestral blood or it was mistakenly used up. I had hoped to see something different, but it seems even after transformation he still remains a human, but with rich longevity and magic like the elves. It seems like he is completely different from humans but still a human. This was only seen in the species of the previous era as far as my guess is correct." Melanie thought as she looked at John in shock and muttered, "This is quite remarkable. A complete purification and integration of ancestral blood have never been seen even among nearest kin in any of the species. What sort of sorcery is this? This is as if John himself is the incarnation of the ancient ancestor. But I am certain that John was a human and is still a human after checking his body. I am guessing that this is due to that magic integration technique." Vlad meanwhile muttered in a very low voice, but it was still heard by John, "It seems Lord Duke won't be able to answer the elders unless John agrees to marry Diana. Now that he has used this blood, we are in quite a tricky situation. Lord Duke has paid quite a price this time around, as there are only 9 more vials of this blood in the family." Friedreich also was quite stunned by the transformation for a long time before he muttered after checking John's body, "It seems his body has toned up a lot and physique has improved a bit. It looks as if his longevity has increased and is comparable to high demons." Yes, as I guessed, his water elemental energy and dark energy have increased a lot, just like the people from Blucia family. And his hair has changed just like our ancestors, but a bit light. It seems he is exhibiting the charms of our Blucia demons. I guess overall, it is a very good result. After the change in physique, John's hair had little shade of dark blue and he exhibited some charms of demons that would attract anyone. John calmly looked around and saw that quite a lot of time had passed. After confirming that everything was fine, Friedreich smiled again and came up with his idea and spoke again, I guess you have accepted my offer since you already consumed our ancestral blood. You should take your responsibility for your acceptance of blood, right? He sighed with a bit of anguish and continued, the thing is, even I am quite tied to this matter this time around. Or else there will certainly be a big problem in Interior Elders Court at Blucia family. As this blood is one of the important things related to the foundation of Blucia family and can't be spread out easily. At this time, Melanie thought deeply as she knew that she can't do anything against Friedreich's tricks, and hence she too spoke to John as she changed her target to him. Well, if you are going to accept his request, then you will have to marry those girls as well, since I don't want to break them apart by only asking for Eva, and as all of them have feelings for you and know you from before. Consider this as my first request to you as your master. Using her astute in politics from the previous era, Melanie spoke very calmly. If you want to think about political benefits of this marriage, then there are two benefits particularly. First, Sally is an illegitimate daughter of Lionheart, and this will be helpful for you in the future if you ever consider invading them when Radiant Church gains power so as to root them out. Additionally, a lot of capable courtiers would be able to accept your rule and also defect to you quite easily after knowing your relationship with Sally, as she is still a daughter of Lionheart. The second political benefit is, if you marry that child Josephine, then you will have fewer problems in managing the guilds in Sky, as she has quite some influence over there and can manage it well. While Eva can as always help you manage the Ministry of Magic because of her reputation, and if you need I can join the Ministry of Healthcare. So here, you have a political justification as well to convince others. Melanie sighed as she continued and spoke, for tomorrow's peace trade deal, I am sure that cunning Plato or one of his ministers would propose a political marriage between you and Sally to make it seem like a strengthened relationship between Elias and Sky, to make you let your guard down. So you can anyway get benefits from them. Meanwhile, I know that Sally would be happier to marry you as she has feelings for you, and at the same time she knows that she will be used as a political tool by her father someday. The very fact that he attacked North Frontier City previously reflected that he did not care about her safety, as immediate interests were more important to him, and might have as well used her death for his political gains for a righteous war to convince the commoners. Friedreich was quite surprised by Melanie's tone, as he thought she was always against his daughter's marriage with John. He thought as he looked at John's new physique. I guess the change is due to the consumption of ancestral blood, as I can't go without any results, or else I would be chewed out by that old man, Ryan, and that would also land my position as a patriarch in jeopardy. Who knows, they may even support my brother Draco and help Fire Abyss family to kill John, as the ancestral blood is already used up by John. However, I guess this was still a good result. Because knowing John's personality, he will certainly take responsibility. And it seems that this old hag is planning on returning to the political scene after this many years, as she is suddenly speaking politically and not selfishly anymore. At this time, John only saw Vlad, who had a very tense face, and understood that it was quite a serious matter this time around, and looking at the various benefits of this ancestral blood to the physique and the system, he understood the seriousness of the matter. John thought as he looked at the system, the very fact that I am able to chase off the eyes of that voyeur and gain so much benefits is a very big advantage for me. I am sure it is one of those lackeys of Irmela who was keeping a watch over me. John sighed as he nodded his head and spoke, it's okay, I understand the seriousness of matter, as I can already feel the benefits and importance of this blood to the Blucia family. And to be honest, I can't escape their feelings forever, nor can't I deny my own feeling regarding them forever. I will be taking my responsibility, and from now on, I will be treating them as they rightfully deserve and court them as any normal man and a king would. John immediately thought, I better cope up with the fact that I am in a different world and hence adjust with some of the norms. Melanie sighed and nodded as she understood the current situation of Blucia family as well as John. At this time, Friedreich sighed with relief after watching John and spoke, since you are going to accept this proposal, you don't need to announce about it now, as I want to see the schemes and moves of Fire Abyss family first to show my move later on. I also want to clearly watch the moves of other countries and duchy and prepare for any eventuality for their moves. John nodded and spoke, let's conclude this meeting for now and modify some of the things required during this month. Currently, we will first announce the construction of roads, sale of printers to the Allies, sale of medicines and sale of advances weapons. And I too hope the news of marriage remains a secret for a few months to watch the moves of others first. We can also equip your royal guards with our latest guns. But you will have to keep a close look at the moderation of guns so that they won't be exposed real fast. They will most likely be bought off by thief or spies in a span of 6 to 12 months by other countries, and these weapons can't be closed off for long, but delaying their research as much as possible is anyway a good thing. At this time, it was Friedrich who very seriously spoke up. I would like to suggest you one more thing, that is to forge a trustworthy and a very tight alliance with elves. Since they would be a big help in times of war because of their trustworthiness. Not to forget that they have many ancient magics that can be researched. Currently, they too would like to make an alliance with you after the advent of your weapons and ships because of the North-South War. Second is, you should try to fund and stabilize the domain of beasts that is south of Fire Abyss Kingdom and southwest of Elias, as they can become a good hindrance to both Elias and Fire Abyss. Stabilizing them would be a benefit for us in a trade for some of their strategic resources. One of the reasons that the beast domain is in anarchy is because of the magic metal mines and the various tribes fighting over it. Second, since devils are bordering Fire Abyss by water, so we might make good relations with them. Melanie too nodded and spoke, I agree, it would be good for us by allying with both of them. Ionanoer can offer us a lot, whether it is food, arts, forbidden magic, or their expertise in designing, and we too can offer them a lot in the form of technology, medicine, weapons, and the latest ships, not to mention military support in case any country attacks them. You would not know, but those elves are adventurous in spirit and would certainly like your ships to explore the world. As far as beasts are concerned, you should first contact them and proceed as required after knowing the ground reality. Allying with devils at Lemuria should be done one step at a time, as we don't know much about them, as we have very few interactions because of the problem of long travel and particularly bad weather to reach there. From now on, because of the improvement in long-distance travel, there would also be an increase in conflict because of colliding interests. Chapter 294. It was Vlad who suggested at this time, if I may, I think John should wait for elves to come and propose a stronger alliance, as I am certain that Ayananari's strategist, Mist, and Allison have certainly sensed the changes for the next era after the arrival of new weapons as well as other new technology, and hence will soon act based on the orders of Ayananari's Queen Kaelin after she reads the report. I am sure she will personally make a trip to Sky based on the tips of their spies and ministers. Melanie and Friedrich both nodded as they understood Vlad's thinking. At this time there was a knock on the door. Vlad spoke after sensing someone coming immediately, it looks like it is Lion and is here with some important information if my guess is correct. Both John and Friedrich nodded as Vlad opened the door for Lion. Friedrich spoke with a serious gaze, don't tell me if it is an unimportant matter. Speak, you can trust everyone over here. Lion nodded as he knew about the importance of this meeting. He came forward and spoke to Friedrich, My lord, we just got some important information from our spies that Duke Norman's men and his spies are trying to get in contact with Prince Chad and also your brother Draco. I felt that something was suspicious and hence decided to inform you immediately. Everyone present heard Lion loud and clear as they understood the importance of this info. Friedrich smiled and spoke, it seems that Norman is doing something quite unusual this time. I guess he is already preparing and making his moves. Well, as long as we know of his moves, then the situation will still be under control. What are your thoughts, Melanie? Melanie thought a bit and spoke, I guess he is trying to sow internal discord by funding your enemies so that you don't focus much on your borders and hence his borders remain stable for him. Friedrich nodded as he too had the same thought. Meanwhile, John furrowed his brows as he had different thinking and spoke, I think, he might be trying to ally with Prince Chad or Draco with a marriage, as he is on thin ice currently since he has lost a lot of wings in the previous political storm. Melanie thought and spoke, that should be impossible, right? Because the royal family won't overlook him marrying an heir with a demon from Fire Abyss. Wasn't this hate towards Fire Abyss one of the reasons why Lionheart was so hellbent against you? Friedreich too nodded and thought the same as Melanie. John smiled and spoke, I wonder because strategically it would be a very wise choice of him to ally with them so closely as he will gain an edge against me as well as the royal family when Fire Abyss successfully develops new counter-weapons. Not to mention, he can also give a passage to Fire Abyss indiscreet against me as well as against the royal family in case any prince moves against him. However, it is good that all of his domain is surrounded by my domain i.e. Sky, Blue Sea Duchy, and Black Wolf's western domain and the central domain of royal family. His next move most likely will be to closely ally with Black Wolf so as to give passage against me and also not to raise suspicion of Prince Lukov and Prince Hector. Anyway, this would be a very big and time-consuming scheme in my opinion. Anyway, Lord Duke, I would advise you to be careful of Draco and his cronies. I am advising you this as a son-in-law, so I hope you take this seriously. They may also try assassinations on you to gain power in desperation. Vlad meanwhile took this hypothetical scenario from John very seriously and noted it down as his instincts were telling him that this move from Norman certainly reeked of danger. He thought and bit and spoke to Lion, take my ghost guards, and from on, keep a very close watch on every move of Norman, Prince Chad, and Draco. I instinctively feel that something fishy is going on. And also don't speak of this conversation to anyone outside. Not even your most trusted personnel. You only have to divide the spying work so that no one has suspicions and thinks of it as a normal routine checkup on potential threats to our duchy. Report to me directly in Sky if there is anything suspicious and serious going on. No, report me every movement of these guys and their lackeys. Lion was quite surprised as he deeply nodded immediately while he took Friedreich's permission and headed out to carry out Vlad's mission. After Lion headed out, John decided to speak as he wanted to forward his plans. Lord Duke, I heard from Master and Diana that you focused a lot on farming. And because of demonic miasma, you faced a lot of problems with 50% wastage in food which can't even be fed to the livestock. Duke Frederick nodded with agreement and spoke, well, it is not a hidden secret, this is one of the reasons why we demons mostly attacked and invaded nearby lands whenever there is a shortage of food in our stocks. However, I am also interested to buy those things called fertilizers for the farms as this was one of the main reasons for my visit. You don't need to worry about payment as you can simply export them to our farmers via your company. John thought as he nodded and spoke as he remembered something, okay, we can export the extra fertilizers that we produce, that won't be a problem. What if we solved your problem of wastage? Previously, I was just having a meeting with one of businessman today and their company had surprisingly one new innovative creation. The company was founded by a demon and an elf who used to study at Rose Institute previously. They have created a peculiar pair of gloves that can nullify the effect of miasma released by demons on the farms. The long-standing curse of the gods can hence be nullified. These gloves were made by those pair of entrepreneurs initially because they worried about the plight of demon farmers in our domain and also to create a level playing field for them. John continued as he remembered his conversation, this involved a lot of research in magic as well as biology, so even I had to use some of my brain cells to understand it completely. Well, the thing is, after a considerable amount of trials by our agricultural department, they too have decided to order the gloves as well as other accessories made by them. We also have a plan to make some machines which can ease the very huge load of work like harvesting, plowing and other things. It is my personal project which will be announced during my crowning ceremony. So what do you think? Both Melanie and Friedreich were quite stunned when they heard about this. Melanie meanwhile thought and muttered, it seems those children thought from a completely different point of view to improve the farming for demons, quite an innovative way. Duke Friedreich was quite stunned and excited as he immediately spoke without thinking, good, good, good. All of our problems of food will be solved if we can control the miasma leakage during farming. Quickly bring me those children. I will immediately order 85 million sets of these new protective wear. I am sure this will immediately increase our yields by 50% in the next harvest. Who are the owners of this new company? John smiled and spoke, well, the company is owned by two people, one demon and one elf that recently graduated from Rose Institute, and then there is some funding done by Blue Paradise for large-scale production of these accessories. They own about 41% of the stake. Meanwhile, some engineers from the institute own about 12% of the stake for making some of the production lines. The company's name is Demonic Agricultural Accessories. For your information, Blue Paradise is owned by Diana and other girls, so you will have to talk to her after I grant your men the authority letter to buy those goods. Friedreich nodded and muttered, "It seems, that girl has really succeeded in something good this time around. It looks like I would really have to pamper that girl this time around. Tell me more about how she came in contact with this company." Right now, it was Vlad who spoke, as he was one always kept his tabs on Diana's affairs. "Milord, Her Highness initially funded this project after she saw the self-promoted projects column of Rose newspaper and magazine i.e. internal newspaper and magazine of Rose Institute for merchants who were interested in funding the projects of the students which the institute wasn't able to fund due to lack of funds, and provided a platform for promising students to promote their projects. Her Highness only got interested after looking at a column that introduced a project for increasing the farming productivity of demons by controlling their demonic miasma, and hence she contacted them first initially, and later funded their experiments after a complete assessment of their ideas. Well, Blue Paradise has funded a lot of promising projects for now, so it is not all bad. Part of the reason she funded this project was that she remembered your dilemma on food every year, and hence the results after enormous funding." Friedreich nodded as he stood up and spoke, "Let's finish our talks for now. It is already quite late. I am sure all the ministers from both the sides are waiting. We can continue the rest of our talks in the following days. By the way, John, when did your domain started making these new wines? This one is quite good compared to the other new wines that were introduced. I don't think there was anything like this introduced in the market by the newly formed Exotic Sky Wines. Currently, the most famous wines in the continent certainly belong to Exotic Sky Wines, but this one is even better." John smiled as he finally got a chance to speak. "This is a limited edition wine called Youthful Soul. It is strong in flavor as it suits the demons, and I created it personally to entertain state guests so as feel my sincerity. So it is not sold anywhere else. As a son-in-law, I will gift you a whole stock of it for a full year that was personally refined under my supervision. Let's go for the banquet. I am sure every one of the ministers is waiting with tense expressions on both of the sides." Everyone nodded and concluded the meeting, and were going to announce the important decisions taken in the meeting. Immediately, John called Quill and told him of his decisions. "You can announce the decisions that were taken today. We can later discuss this in detail. However, you can give the ministers about the future direction of Sky. Duke Friedreich is of the same opinion, so you don't need to worry." Quill nodded and spoke to John. "Lord, it was just now reported that Minister Joel and Minister Plato along with their team of ministers and businessmen have just now left for Sky from the capital and will reach here at North Frontier City tomorrow, as they are traveling the royal beasts of the Elias family for faster travel this time around. I was informed of this by Gray as well as their foreign minister Luke." John nodded as he looked at the documents which briefed him of the political upheaval at Elias. He nodded satisfactorily and spoke, "It seems our spy agencies are still up to date. Good, from now on, we will be keeping an eye on Draco i.e. Diana's uncle. He seems suspicious to me. If possible, send the Ghost Red in case he tries to do something suspicious. Tell him that if there is an attack on Lord Duke, then he has to ensure his safety." Chapter 295. Meanwhile, Melanie and Friedreich were in a conversation. Melanie spoke, "Old coot, you really did play your best and roped in my disciple with your schemes. Are you still afraid because of that decision you took for your eldest daughter previously, and hence you are trying your best for Diana?" Friedreich showed a rare emotion of longing and spoke, "I guess you can say that I don't want to lose another daughter because of my selfish political decisions that were taken previously. That time, I lost my daughter, and hence I don't want to see it happen again. This is also one of the reasons why Fire Abyss family has a grudge on us, as their previous scheme failed. Well, politically as well, my current decision of making John my son-in-law is correct, so no one can question me in the family. However, I never thought that you would make John marry those other girls as well." Melanie nodded and spoke, "Well, I understand Eva more and hence took that decision and not make Eva feel guilty. Those girls know each other for a long time and hence I would not like to break that apart. And as I spoke earlier, there were benefits as well in the marriage that can be exploited in the present and the future. One of them is if Sky is invaded by the schemes of those greedy ministers, then it can be useful for us. For a long time I wanted to change Elias, and this disciple of mine can certainly change it if they invade us again. It was also because of them that Eva's mother and father were killed for saving a beastman, and hence plotted by them in the form of a mission to assassinate them. Anyway, this time you didn't bring both of your wives as you do so usually? Is there some problem with your duchy unlike the usual times?" Friedrich sighed as he nodded and spoke, "You can say so. That brother Draco of mine is always pulling some tricks when I am away, and hence I left the administration of duchy to my wives and elder Ryan to handle in case of some event that would need big decisions. Additionally, I need to be careful of those ministers in Apollyon's court, and hence the caution from my side." Melanie nodded and understood as she spoke with a smile, "Anyway, let's go to the banquet and give the good news to those brats." Friedrich thought, "I won't tell this news for now. Anyway, I can use this news to coerce that child into selling those farming accessories to me. Maybe she will forgive me for neglecting her for this info, and I can use this info to tease John from now on," muttered Friedrich as he nodded satisfyingly and headed to the banquet to brief his ministers and Lion, who just came back after arranging the previous orders from Vlad. At this time Quill announced in the room about the major deals to everyone, during the previous meeting between Lord Duke and His Majesty, Sky and Lord Duke will be equally funding construction of major commercial roads in Blucia Duchy for the facilitation of merchants internally as well as externally towards Sky. Half of the rights will be owned by Sky and other half will be owned by Blucia Duchy, for which toll taxes will be charged to recoup the investment. There was quite a hubbub among ministers as soon as they heard about such a major project. One of the bureaucrats was going to speak, but his superior i.e. minister held him and spoke, "Don't worry too much and speak carefully. Since His Majesty Sky has decided to invest half of it, then I am certain that it has other benefits as well. Additionally, we don't know anything about those toll taxes. So don't make a fool out of yourself. Let the ministers from other countries make a fool out of themselves." Soon there was sound derision from one of the ministers, but he decided to hold it in after looking at the face of Lord Ambassador, Luke from Sky. The old coots here meanwhile had a different view and thought that there was something more to the deal, as both the Duke and King John were not fools to go with these investments. Luke meanwhile thought, "I wonder what sort of benefits were given to Sky in this deal. John is not the sort of person who will make a loss-making deal. Maybe Lord Duke has given some forbidden demon magic to research. It seems His Majesty John looks a bit different now that I see him again. His hair is now a bit bluish and his physique has changed a bit. It seems it is related to some sacred blood of demons, and hence the decisions taken today." Quill nodded and spoke, "Our next deal concerns the sale of printers related to banknotes and news media to Fire Abyss Kingdom. The third deal is related to sale of medicine to the Fire Abyss Kingdom via Blucia Duchy, and the fourth deal is related to the sale of weapons for the security of Blucia Duchy. In return, we will be getting the mining rights of certain metals related to iron ore, aluminum, copper, coal, oil, common magic crystal, low-level magic crystals, medium-grade magic crystals, etc. for the next 100 years. Gaining the mining rights, we will also be able to employ the local populace and hence create employment. I hope our ministers support this win-win situation." Very soon everyone understood the meaning behind these deals. Luke thought, it looks like it was simply a transaction. Though Sky themselves have a lot of mines, but searching them would require at least 6 to 12 months, and not to mention the labor required, which they are in short right now. As far as printing machines are concerned, it looks like they are going to relax the laws, and hence this signal is for everyone present here. They are at least going to sell them on the governmental level to other countries. However, it looks like there will still be a strict regulation when it comes to mana-restoring pills. Well, some signals are still good. Chapter 296. At this time, there was a hubbub among big and small all the ministers present because of the announcement of such big decisions. Mayane meanwhile thought, I guess I should make my move since the family and grandpa has taken this decision, as they too got some news on the fight which took place in Elias. Anyway, let's see their reaction for now. Allying with Sky is for the best for Amen family. At this time, it was Mayane who came. She was wearing an ocean blue top that was revealing her navel, it also revealed a bit of her cleavage. The ocean blue top was fitting and revealed her plump bust and other curves. She also wore an ocean blue skirt that was longer in the back and shorter in front. She was also wearing sky blue stocking up to her thighs and sky blue shoes. Her lips were deep red like a cherry as she gave a luring smile to everyone. A lot of people who saw her couldn't help but admire her beauty. She came along with Kane and her team and congratulated John as she gave him her gift. Mayane smiled and spoke, Lord John, your domain has surprised me and my men quite a lot. Please accept this gift as a token of my appreciation. Lord John, you look quite different from the last time we met at your office. Luke looked at her and thought, quite an astute lady, she knows that he will not be able to reject the gift in open or else it will offend the devils, and hence came first to offer it to him after she heard about the deal with demons. It seems, unlike the usual red, this time she is wearing blue to provoke the Blucia demons. John too smiled and understood her intentions as he didn't reject her gift and spoke, I am happy that our domain has offered a beauty like you and all the other species a comfortable place to live. This is also one of the reasons why I had created this kingdom, as I felt that some of the things in this world were wrong and I hoped to change it because of my actions. Anyway, I heard from my men that you were intending to open a law firm when it came to civil as well as criminal disputes. John meanwhile thought, this lady quite cunning to strike a conversation right after the announcement of deals. I wonder who made this dress for her. I wonder what are her intentions. I better clear up the understanding or else I will sink in this seductress's trap. Mayane smiled teasingly as she looked at John's peculiar position and spoke, yes, we do have an intention to open up a law firm. I wonder if you can make a state visit to Lemuria with me in the future, as my grandfather wishes to meet you officially in his capacity as a logistics minister and for further cooperation. Meanwhile, what does Lord John think of my dress? I heard that you rarely speak on these matters, but I wanted to know your genuine opinion, as I heard that you were the one who came up with the initial designs of clothes for both men and women, which has surprised me to no ends. John thought as he heard her, what is with these awkward questions? If I speak wrongly, it will become a rumor candy for media, while those girls would certainly chew me up. God damn it. Looking for a way to get about this peculiar situation, John looked at a distance where Diana, Eva, and others were chatting with Vlad about the demonic agricultural accessories. Looking at Diana, she was in a red alluring skirt which was knee-high in length and showed off her smooth pair of legs had red stockings. Sally meanwhile was in an elegant purple royal dress that gave off a graceful appearance. Meanwhile, Josephine was in graceful green top that gave off a heroic and inspiring as well as an elegant bearing when anyone looked at her. Her armored runic skirt revealed her tall, shapely, and sleek pair of legs. Eva meanwhile was in runic magical robes that only a few in this kingdom had. The black dress and lines on her body only accentuated her slender figure when she stuck out her chest. Her expression was dignified and graceful that would melt anyone in her presence. John nodded and thought, well, it is good that they don't lose out in front of her in terms of clothing or beauty. And it looks they are trying not to look in my direction. Anyway, my only way out is to head there. John nodded internally and spoke to Mayane with a genuine calmness, indeed, I came up with the initial designs of Blue Paradise for both men and women, but I am not involved in it after initial help, so I may not know much. Milady, why don't I first introduce you to some of my friends who are also stakeholders in Blue Paradise? As far as my visit to Lemuria is concerned, I will have to schedule it if my plan's in place. If the trip's time is shortened to 2 to 3 days, then I will certainly visit Lemuria and meet your grandfather and other ministers. As far as your dress is concerned, I think it is a top quality dress which will have no end to the buyers, but it can only be an accessory in front of your beauty. I wonder if you bought it from Blue Paradise or asked for a customized order according to your needs, as you asked the previous question from me. Anyway, I may not know better. John then approached Diana, Eva, Sally, and Josephine as he spoke to them in a sincere manner so as to get out of the awkward atmosphere. I wonder if you beauties can spare some time to dance with me. Meet this friend of mine, her name is Mayane. Currently, she is here officially representing the Amun House of the Lemurian Republic, which is north of the Fire Abyss Kingdom beyond the seas. Mayane smiled a bit as she saw John and thought, I believe I made him a bit uncomfortable after my previous questions, and hence he is looking for a way out by escorting these women. And my instincts say that John has certainly made a marriage alliance with Blucia family and Melanie from the way he is openly approaching them, unlike the previous times. It seems we have to move faster as well. Diana, Eva, and others were quite shocked that John asked them out openly for a dance for the first time. Diana meanwhile thought, is it because of this woman that John is using us to get out of such an awkward position? Now, this is amusing. Anyway, this is helpful. Eva and others meanwhile laughed a bit and thought, it looks like the appearance of this woman certainly was a good thing, as John approached us on his own initiative. Sally smiled and thought, ho, it looks like he is finding quite a hard time this time around. Let's tease him a bit and watch this amusing event. Chapter 297. It was Sally who laughed and spoke first teasingly, I wonder, who is this new friend of yours? As far as dance is concerned, I don't know about others, but I will certainly dance with you since this is your first time asking me out. Diana too laughed and spoke as she heard Sally, but took actions immediately. Vlad, we will talk about those accessories for the next time. Come, John, let's dance, or else who knows when you will take back your words. Vlad laughed as he saw this scene and made some space. He thought, I guess it was good that I waited to take a ministerial post in Sky. John too smiled and took her hand and was about to join other couples that were dancing. John sighed a bit and thought, it looks like Vlad and others have not yet spoken to them about our previous conversation. Mayane herself smiled a bit and spoke to everyone, sorry for my late introduction, I am Mayane Amun and this is my colleague and also my guard Kane from the Lemuria Republic. Currently, we plan to establish a connection with Sky, and hence we have requested and made some transactions previously after the grand auction. We will soon be establishing an embassy and plan to make a law firm and other industries as agreed by the contracts. As for John's previous question, actually this dress was designed by a friend of mine who I met recently, her name is Emina. Look over there, she is standing over there with Lord Mist and Lord Allison and is wearing golden clothes. You must be Lord Vlad, I heard that you were quite famous for your feats in the previous era. Lord John, as a friend of mine, you should also dance with me, right? John forced a smile and spoke, of course, how can I reject such a beauty? I will go with Diana first as she asked me out. John headed to the ball with Diana, who was dragging him away. As they started dancing, Diana spoke in his ear as she giggled, you are quite assertive today. What happened? Is there some change? Or is it because you find it hard to deal with that woman? Ha ha ha. John too smiled a bit in front of her, teasing as he tightened his grip on her waist and spoke into her ear, really? I think I have always been assertive, don't you find it? It was just that, today, I found you guys being mesmerizingly beautiful and hence I couldn't help but ask you guys out. Diana meanwhile had red cheeks as she blushed after his grip and thought, whatever the reason, I guess it is still good as he made his move for the first time after some panic. I should savor this moment. I guess he looks more charming today when he is being assertive. After a while, John helplessly and seductively spoke in Diana's ear, why don't you let me go? Others are waiting for quite a long time. Or else I would need to give you some punishment. Diana smiled seductively as she looked at John's helplessness and spoke in his ear as they were dancing, I don't want to let you go. I would rather monopolize your time till infinity, and you think I fear your punishment. What can you do about it? How about a kiss? Maybe then I can let you go. John sighed and spoke, well, I can't kiss you right now, or else it will create quite big problems between countries, as they might think that I have formed an alliance with your family. How about a date with you guys next week? Diana smiled satisfyingly and spoke, okay, accepted. No problems. I will be expecting your date. Diana smiled as she took John and left the dance hall. John was quite surprised at the instant acceptance and thought, it looks like this was her goal from the start. I guess she is Duke Frederick's daughter for a reason. At this time, Vlad and Frederick were quite satisfied. Frederick thought, it's good that my daughter made the first move before Melanie's kin. It was good that we had a talk with John, and hence his assertiveness from now on. After dancing with her, John proceeded as Eva came forward and took his hand before Sally and moved to the ball. Eva immediately spoke to John as soon as they were on the dance floor with a terrifying smile, it seems we will have to call Mayane frequently, as you seem quite afraid of her. Or is there some special occasion? She meanwhile squinted her eyes and spoke, by the way, why didn't you pick me first? John sweated bullets as he ran his brain in ultra-fast speed after he heard her interrogation, and spoke as he brought her closer to himself and spoke in a calm manner, it is not as you think, I only wanted to create a rumor that Blucia Duchy and Sky were allying, and also to get away from that awkward moment previously. And hence the choice, there is nothing more to it. He came near her ears and spoke in seductive tone to get out this situation, maybe we can go on a date next week. Hearing of a date, Eva couldn't help but think of anything else but the date and didn't question him more as she danced with him with a blushed expression. Eva smiled a little bit and thought, well, it is okay, anyway, because of her he has at least made a move subconsciously after such a long time, or else I wonder how long he would have remained dense. Mayane smiled as she sighed and thought, interesting, it looks like Lord John doesn't want to create unnecessary rumors when it comes to women, so he is approaching everyone. I guess my plan won't work unless I try more. Well, I can still tease him in the ball for his cunningness. Mayane smiled as she took John's hands as they danced and spoke, Lord John, you were quite cunning in dodging the previous situation. I guess you are quite experienced in these matters. John smiled a bit and spoke a bit defensively, Miss Mayane, to be very honest, actually, it was my first time being in such an awkward position. It's good that it was only a small banquet today, or else I would probably have made a fool of myself in panic. Well, everything is an experience. Mayane laughed and teased a bit as she leaned a bit on him and spoke, you see, quite a lot of ministers and nobles are looking at our way and hoping to have contact with you with their heirs. Anyway, are you sure you escaped me completely in this banquet? John smiled as he nodded and spoke, well, I think I have escaped your teasing for now. Mayane smiled as she deliberately fell on him, but it seemed like she misstepped her foot and was caught by John. Mayane smiled and thought, well, you could have escaped previously, but there are some situations where you can never escape even if you want to. John slapped his forehead in his thoughts as he was forced to catch Mayane in an awkward position which the people may misinterpret. He thought, I can win wars on a battlefield, I can also win wars on the political battlefield, but this battlefield is full of thorns. Damn it! Mayane giggled as she spoke while John was supporting her from falling down, I guess it's my win this time. Anyway, take this note, you will owe me for this information. Mayane pressed against his chest as she gave him the note. Quite a lot of people were surprised today after watching the show and had their own conjectures. Meanwhile, John sighed as he danced with other women and had similar conversations with Sally, Josephine, Emina and other nobles. Sally and Josephine looked quite happy and were blushing from time to time after the dance as if they gained the biggest prize. Sally thought a bit angrily but was quite happy, that rascal even dared to tease this big sister where it was my turn to tease him to death. This is utterly infuriating. It has always been this big sister who teases others and not the other way around. Looking at Josephine, it looks like he has charmed her as well with his sweet words. One needs to be careful to not go into his flow or you will lose. He indeed has a glib and a sweet tongue, as even I got teased by him. Next time I meet him, I must teach him a lesson. Arg, why am I getting red because of the previous encounter? Chapter 298. While Emina muttered, which was heard by Maurice, I guess we can discuss business later on. It seems we elves still have little understanding of life. Maybe we should send our people here to gain a new perspective on life and biology. Maybe, this was one of the reasons why Sky was able to make those medicines and we weren't. No wonder, Lord John was able to create those medicines. Meanwhile, it seems that Lord John is quite a charming man. She had red cheeks for a moment as she looked at him dancing with other women, but later on, she started focusing on the theories regarding magic and biology. Looking at this scene, a lot of ministers and nobles from other countries approached John indirectly by asking their daughters to make a move and tried to forge a good relationship using this ball dance. One of the journalists who was present at the ball spoke to Glenn, "I wonder why His Majesty has decided to court them today. Is there some special occasion or was there some inside announcement that we missed today?" Glenn smiled and answered the question of his colleague, "Nah, you didn't miss anything. I guess Her Highness Mayane forced Lord John to act in such an awkward situation. I guess there will be some gossip in the newspapers. Anyway, make a report, people are quite bored these days. And a rumored alliance with Duke Frederick is anyway in our interests, and it will also rattle some hearts in Elias, Brindil, Fire Abyss as well as Ionanoer." After some time of dancing, it was Quill who spoke to give John some relief. "All the lords and ministers, please forgive my rudeness, but my lord needs to deal with some state matters, and hence I hope you forgive me as I am taking him away." Mist Thought asked Allison, "Why do you think of the previous show, Allison?" Allison thought a bit and spoke, "Just some theatrics by that little girl, Mayane. From my view, it looks like they are intending to ally with Sky and hope to gain those weapons and the other tech for their family first. Nothing more and nothing less from my lens." Mist nodded and spoke, "However, John's interaction with those women was quite different today, unlike it was done previously. It looks like he has made his mind to pursue them, but made it look like he was intending to escape the awkward position by courting almost everyone in the ballroom. Hiding truth in falsehoods or hiding falsehood in truth. This is quite a good trick that can even be used in warfare. I should take some notes." Allison nodded with Mist and spoke, "It looks like Princess Emina too had a good conversation with him previously and gained something out of it. Anyway, with the alliances, I can see that the next war will be involving a lot of nations, maybe even gods, archdemons and archdevils, or at least their lackeys will be involved. Meanwhile our ancestors will be in hibernation most likely. We have to be careful and plan accordingly, as we will be very vulnerable against Elias as well as Brindil. This time, we can't be standing aside or else we too will get swallowed by the naval power." Mist nodded and spoke in a serious manner, "No need to worry, I have written a detailed letter to Her Majesty about my conclusions and solutions regarding the same. We will get her reply and her decisions in a few days. Anyway, Sky has been sincere until now when we dealt with them, so there shouldn't be a problem in completely relying on them. We too have some things which will be useful to them in the near future." Meanwhile, Diana and Friedreich were conversing about the demonic agricultural machinery and having a heated discussion as they were having some disagreements. Friedreich spoke in a calm manner, "Daughter, why don't you do your father a favor and sell those demon accessories first to your father? Even the first batch will do, you don't have to worry about money. You see, I can also give you some good news if you agree to my request. And I am sure that you will find it very useful in the future." Diana squinted her eyes and spoke with suspicion, "I don't believe you. After signing the contract you will give me irrelevant information. Anyway, why haven't eldest mother and mom haven't traveled with you this time around? What is with the pretense that you here on a tour? I am sure you won't go on traveling to enjoy the sceneries without them." Friedreich ignored her question and gave her some hints as he spoke, "Don't you wish to know about John's change in attitude today? Maybe this will intrigue you as I have information on that. As for your mothers, they are handling the duchy in my place. Well, I can't hide anything from you, so you must understand and help your poor father. Diana thought, poor father. Who is he fooling? Diana thought as she also had some suspicions regarding John's different behavior. Okay, I will agree to your request, but you will have to give 1/4 of the money in advance before we start producing the accessories immediately. As I thought, it looks like you were truly here for official business, or you would have certainly brought eldest mom, or at least mom. Anyway, from the looks I can guess that you are being cautious of Uncle Draco and King Apollyon. Anyway, hurry up and speak the info that you have, or else you can forget about this deal, because we anyway have purchase orders from Agricultural Ministry in big numbers, and it will take 3 months to complete them before we start production of your orders. Friedrich smiled and spoke with a proud tone and narrated the whole incident about the meeting and also where the ancestral blood was used in the end that convinced John and made him confront his feelings. So you can confirm that John has agreed to marry you and others, and hence he was courting you guys today before you got the news. Maybe you can use this information to tease him a little bit in the future. However, it looks like both you and Eva will be officially sharing the title of queen, while Sally and Josephine will be consorts. I guess this is due to the influence of Vlad and Melanie. Diana had an angry look as she smiled and nodded her head and spoke to Friedrich in a cold tone. So that was the reason. No wonder, he looked more charming and bold anyway. This is good. However, it looks like he always knew our feelings but acted dense on purpose as he accepted it in front of you. As far as sharing the title is concerned, I am not that much worried now that he has agreed to marry us. Since he acted dense on purpose, we must punish him. Diana angrily thought, I must teach him a lesson for ignoring me for so long. This info anyway is good enough to tease him. Chapter 299. Diana nodded her head in anger as she twisted her fist into a punch and made sure to make John pay for deliberately ignoring her. Friedrich coughed a bit and thought, you can't blame me, son-in-law. I hope you can follow through with this path of fire, since it concerns my interests, or else my daughter will chew me up in business. Anyway, with John completely purifying and absorbing the ancestral blood, I am sure he will be more resilient. Anyway, I am sure they will have a child of fortune filled with the blessings of our ancestors. Diana nodded satisfyingly and thought as she blushed, no wonder, he was so assertive today that he didn't even hesitate to make his move in courting us. It looks like a lot of factors were in play today. The very fact that he has confessed his feelings today is very good for now. It looks like this old man is not playing me for a fool today, as even I sensed a change in John, and it looks like the ancestral blood has improved his physique, since even I can feel a resonance. Meanwhile, John told Quill, you can announce about the demonic agricultural accessories tomorrow after we sign the deal with Elias. It will anyway create a lot of commotion, because the demons at Fire Abyss will then try to keep a balance with us and try to acquire these accessories, as this can help them increase their farm yields and also stop their invasions at our side at least. I hope you have sent the appointment letters of various ministers to their offices. Quill nodded and spoke, the appointment letters have been done and sent to their offices, Your Majesty. Most of the people will start preparing after tomorrow for their new roles. We also prepared for the arrival of ministers from Elias. Security has been duly arranged by Gray. Meanwhile, we will also take note of the people arriving tomorrow. John saw the note from Myane and sighed, it looks like, I really owe her this time around. From the looks, it seems the Radiant Church is planning something big in the future for Elias, Sky, and Fire Abyss Kingdom. It can be seen that they adapting to the new realities and strategizing new policies for their future. Quill, pass this note to Master Vlad as well as Diril and Gray so that they can take a look at this. Also, tell Minister Bruce about this. I would like to see his solutions. And yes, don't reveal any of the information about today's meeting to anyone, as I am waiting for the moves of other players. Quill took the note, as even he was quite stunned that the Radiant Church was now advocating no slavery for humans. He immediately spoke, I will immediately inform the relevant departments of this information and ask Minister Bruce of his conjectures and solutions for the same. At this time Jack and Joseph arrived after immediately hearing Quill about the allocation of ministries. Without wasting any time, John immediately got to the point. I am sure that you know about the details of the Chamber of Commerce and Sky Securities and Exchange Commission. So what are your views regarding the same? Joseph satisfyingly nodded and spoke, I think this quite a brilliant and innovative idea. This sort of exchange can be very helpful to all the people, whether it is a common man, small businessman, big businessmen, ministers, nobles, or even the kings and state itself, to raise money or invest money in certain businesses. And for investors, instead of finding information everywhere to invest, they can simply look at the companies in the exchange for information and come to a faster decision. Also, the rules and regulations might be strict by His Majesty in the policy, as it will take a lot of manpower to enforce them, but I can't think of any loopholes in this system for now. Jack, what about you? Jack too nodded and spoke, yes, I think this exchange will certainly attract a lot of investors in the region. I think even my family will change their stance and will start to invest a lot in Sky and might make a tilt towards us. They are already interested in Sky because of the favorable business environment. Also, my father previously inquired me from his letter that if the healthcare sector is open for private players as well, then he might want to build a research center and factory at Sky, since the Radiant Church always curbed us previously whenever any private entity challenged the light magicians. John nodded and spoke, okay, I plan to announce the Sky Securities and Exchange Commission as well as about the Food and Drug Administration Department tomorrow after my meeting the officials from Elias. Anyway, Jack, I hope that your family can bring in more people to Sky, but my only need is that they shouldn't be followers of Radiant Church and other churches that have problems with the policies of Sky. As far as species is concerned, we don't care. Your family can get 1 gold each as commission for every person bought to Sky. As for transport, our navy and merchants' ships will bear them if required. However, no one should be forced, as I don't want a law and order problem later on. I also want your Chamber of Commerce members who are very loyal to Sky to keep a watch on the movement of men of Radiant Church as well as Elias for future needs in Elias. Your Chamber of Commerce should also keep a look at the movement of items like the amount of food, water, and other essential necessities transported to the border areas, as a sudden influx in the amount of these things can indicate a change in the stance of their military. Or like the increase in cargo consignments towards the borders and other sorts of things. As for the healthcare sector, it will be looked out by our Food and Drug Administration Department, so you products must pass their standards. As far as the private sector is concerned, there is no problem for any company, anyone can go in any sector, but there will always be some amount of supervision in the arms, media, and healthcare sectors. Jack, from now on, you will be handling the SkySec along with Sally. While you will also keep your position as the deputy in the Sky's Chamber of Commerce. Jack's eyes sparkled as he understood the power of information of the SEC and spoke, there should be no problem, Your Majesty. We will certainly do this task and be worthy of the responsibility and trust you have us. John nodded and spoke, yes, you must remember that if your family's company is listed in the exchange, then it will be under the direct scanner of Ghosts and Sally. And likewise, Sally's companies will be under the direct scanner of NSB and Ghosts. So any big officials that have a direct conflict of interests will be under a scanner of other departments, so that they don't pass biased regulations in one company's favor. I hope you can remember this, and most importantly, it is your family members who must remember this, or you can get in trouble because of their corruption. If there is a regulation which you wish to pass but is biased towards your company, then you will have to petition it at the Parliament or the King for the pros and cons as to the whole to the Sky, and only then will such a policy be passed. Jack nodded firmly and spoke with some determination, I understand the meaning of such responsibility and power, my lord, and I too will make sure to keep a watch on my family members. If they do engage in corrupt activities, I will be the first one to apprehend them and bring them to the courts. Joseph too nodded as he spoke, my lord, today I got a letter from my father informing me that grandfather Carl and Jack's grandfather Trevor too will be traveling with the party of ministers of Elias for tomorrow's deal. It looks like both our grandfathers indirectly wanted to gain some favor, but their ego is too big since we cut our relations with the Morgan family and Snake family previously, so how do we deal with them? My lord, what do you intend to do with the Food and Drug Administration Department? John nodded and understood why Elias was bringing them, as it was related to Jack and Joseph's relation with him. You guys don't need to be biased with your grandfathers. Handle them according to the policies or regulations, you can even tease them. No, since they have anyway given you some indirect hints and they also got some relations with various ministers in Elias, then we can profit from them and make them help us in spying some factories. You can give them some favorable contracts in return. In return they might ask some information from you guys. I will make Gray give you a set of irrelevant technology and information that you can pass them on. Our enemies know about the telescopes, so we can trade for it, but don't give them information till they complete the tasks. Currently, the FDA department will be handled by Master Melanie as well as the senior professors at the Rose Institute who are involved in biology and medicinal research. They will test if the food and pharma products meet the standards as mentioned in the packets or not. John meanwhile thought, maybe, we can still use them more efficiently, as business interests will anyway triumph other interests and we can anyway entice them with some of our techs to do our bidding in Elias. Both Jack and Joseph smiled at the thought of making their grandfathers work for them. Joseph laughed hard and thought, this time I will certainly teach that old man a lesson. He thinks that he can use me because of blood relations. Dream on. Chapter 300. During the banquet, Luke was keeping a close eye just like Ambassador Annan for any important event and did not miss the meeting of ministers. Luke thought as he looked, it looks like Jack Snake and Joseph Morgan still have a good relationship with His Majesty Sky. We can prop up their families and use them as interlocutors when it comes to a crisis. At the same time, they can help us get some technology. While, at the same time, it seems Dwight Simmons still has little to no interaction with Eva, while from the looks, Melanie is still using him as a lackey, which is good for now. However, this trade agreement with Blucia Domain is quite a big deal since this involves such a big amount of investment from both sides. I guess Sky will suck them dry when it comes to those roads, because as far as I know, those roads are very high quality according to our inspection department, and the axe on Baron Jules recently was due to the same report that was carried out by King Lionheart's royal architects secretly. What I am currently worried about is an alliance between Ionanoer and Sky, which will give food security to Sky while military security to Ionanoer. In this case, we will have to ally with Brindle as they don't have dragons. Maybe they can help us with weapon research. Our main focus should alliance of Lord John with Ionanoer and Fire Abyss. One of the nobles from Elias who was new at Sky and had just arrived immediately at the floating palace. He roared outside as he came outside of his cart at the floating banquet hall where the party was going on. As he looked at the commoners, how dare a commoner not kneel in front of my presence? Can't he see that I am a marquis from the capital? How can such nuisance be tolerated against a noble? Many people outside the floating palace looked at the marquis as if he was a clown. Just as the guards of the floating palace were about to act, but it was only at this time that one of the guards from Luke's escort team came and whispered in the ears of Marquis, "My lord, we already informed you of the laws here before arriving. You should be careful in case you enrage them and jeopardize the deal. This is not Elias anymore." The chief guard looked at the guard from Floating Palace and signaled him that he would handle him. The guard from Floating Palace sighed as he turned back, looking at Luke's chief guard, as he had seen this situation quite a lot of times near the embassies or the manors of the lords. The chief guard was quite embarrassed, then turned to the commoners and spoke, "I would like to apologize to all the people present here on behalf of my lord. Please go on and don't mind him. We didn't know our place and hence acted inappropriately." Meanwhile, a journalist smiled as he took a photo and headed back to his office. The people were meanwhile looking at the Marquis as if he was a clown who was paid to perform for his theatrics, which was usually shown in the theaters. One of the commoners laughed and spoke, "It looks like those dramas at the theaters near the central square really aren't exaggerating when they act like nobles of Elias. Interesting. Maybe this guy can become our reference." A middle-aged demon who was passing by looked at the Marquis's carriage as he nodded and spoke to his friend, "It looks like those new gossip newspapers really aren't exaggerating when they describe the lives of those nobles from other countries. If I am not wrong, this type of scandalous news is deliberately published in gossip magazines and other private newspapers who deal in rumors, as this can't be published in official newspapers. Maybe I too should subscribe that the gossip magazine newly published by North Frontier Times. I heard that this magazine was focused on men like the ones from Blue Paradise that is focused on women. Another old man laughed as he nodded and spoke, "Well, I already told you. The next thing you should do is go and subscribe to that gossip magazine published by North Frontier Times." And indeed, not every noble is like Lord Luke, who is understanding as he has remained here for a long time. Some are even worse than this Marquis, as I had personally witnessed the atrocity of some with my own eyes. From what I know, they wouldn't even bat an eye when it comes to the lives of slaves in Elias. It was only due to His Majesty Sky that we are able to keep our heads up and have equal rights from a minister to a commoner. Hearing this, the Marquis was so angry with this humiliation that he was about to bring out his sword when Luke's secretary Ellison came and coughed so as to warn him not to create a bigger problem. Ellison put his glasses up and spoke with a frown, "Enough of this chatter, head inside the banquet hall without creating any more problems for us. You have to come to terms that this is now a new country, at least presently. Don't show this behavior in front of Lord Plato or Lord Joel tomorrow, or you may get in trouble, as they have invested a lot of their political capital to make this deal a success, and also not in front of big officials of Sky. Additionally, this scandal will be a problem for Lord Luke as well, since you are from his faction. So my advice is, tread carefully on this trip. You should remember that this is not our territory. Just to remind you, previously, already one of the bureaucrats was jailed to a 2-month sentence plus heavy labor because of bringing slaves in open as a show of force in Sky. To send a message to everyone, even with diplomatic immunity in our embassy, they jailed him without any hesitation, as this order came directly from Lord Taylor. Not to mention, that slave's family was freed from the slavery mark and allowed to join Sky without even asking our permission. This was such a big humiliation for us. Because of this, none of businessmen dare to bring their slaves in Sky in an odd chance that they lose them. It was good that this happened before the talks even started and our relations were practically frozen, so this can be taken as a diplomatic power play from Sky's side. Ellison sighed as he continued, "Anyway, don't take diplomatic immunity for granted, because if you do something heinous like murder, robbery, etc., then I am sure even I can't save you. So don't try to play the diplomatic immunity card to stir them up into action, because I have seen that they would certainly take action if the crime is serious. If they can't anything legally, then there is still their agency called Ghosts to do that sort of job. Diplomatic immunity is only for big cases, if we are being assassinated, harassed by foreign spies, local hooligans, etc. So behave appropriately as a noble." It seems the Marquis understood, as sweat beads started flowing out, as he knew that he was going to kill those commoners who were making fun of him on the streets. He nodded and immediately headed inside and made a note on reading all the laws for diplomats and also the terms of diplomatic immunity. Ellison looked at the palace guard and then the reporter who had a camera with a big smile. Ellison facepalmed and sighed as he looked at the reporter. Grumblingly he spoke, "I guess this news will still be reported by the local media over here. The only thing I can do is make them delay the report and make it a misunderstanding that the Marquis thought he was still in his own domain by the official newspaper. This is so humiliating. I will have to request Glenn again. As for our side, I should make sure that these newspapers don't reach Elias for a few weeks." Ellison looked at the chief guard as he sighed and told him, "Go to Sky Times headquarters and tell Glenn that he should delay this report until the deal is signed and make it seem like a misunderstanding so as not to jeopardize tomorrow's meet." Well, the new rumor magazines will anyway report the real reason behind the delayed report and also the full story. How long will I have to be humiliated because of these damn newcomers? It's good that they have been stopped before doing anything illegal, or it will become a big problem someday. A lot of ministers from other countries weren't surprised, as their men too did this in the beginning. They sighed as they recalled this humiliation. This also forced them to issue a letter specifically to people with status like nobles, ministers, bureaucrats, etc., traveling to Sky about the laws of Sky and their consequences in big words, or they will be responsible for their actions. Annan meanwhile was in his thoughts after getting reports from his men. It seems our men were successfully able to recreate those bicycles and also customize it according to the needs of various species. However, it seems the costs are off the charts and are 2 to 3 times higher when compared to the costs as produced by the factories from Sky. It seems we will have to spy those things called factories and their inner workings. As far as this banquet is concerned, it looks like Lord John has made quite a loss-making deal with Blucia Duchy. But from a different perspective, it looks like it was done to create a wedge between Blucia Duchy and Fire Abyss family, as they are pressing the Blucia family for a long time. From this, it can be concluded that the Blucia family too is cautious against the Fire Abyss family and using all of their chips. Glenn meanwhile, who was in office, sighed as he looked at the letter and stamp and also the person bringing in the letter. He spoke angrily to the chief guard of Luke, "Can't you guys control your men properly? I have to manipulate and print this fake news because of the blunders of your men. And because of this, those private players make fun of our hypocrisy. Our newspaper is already facing a series of lawsuits by victim citizens for publishing such news. I had to explain to them personally and remove their doubts to make them take back their lawsuits. A state-funded publisher getting sued, how more humiliating can it get? Don't expect favor from me next time around. I will simply deny and not report this sort of news in the future." Giving a stamp, Glenn murmured, "I better not give my name in this report, as this report will simply tarnish my reputation. I better ask Lord John for a change in some of the media laws. Maybe freedom of expression in all sorts of things except seditious articles funded by other countries. Nat, it can only be done step by step." Glenn thought, in wartime as well, the truth will be killed first to keep the morale of the country and army if required. We need a perfectly worded bill which can protect us as well as keep a sword on publishers if they publish classified news related to military and security of the state. Looking at Glenn's angry face, the chief's face was red and understood why Ellison decided to send him after a few times. He sighed and thought, "I guess Lord Luke took this sort of bashing from Lord Glenn, so he sent Lord Ellison, and the same was faced by Lord Ellison, so he started sending me after a few times. Maybe I too should find a good deputy from now on and send him." Quill nodded and greeted as he announced his departure and the end of the banquet. He smiled and spoke to others as he left with John, "I hope all the ministers are prepared for tomorrow's preparations. Don't worry, there isn't any bad news, so everyone can look forward to it. I will be accompanying His Majesty, so don't bother accompanying me." A lot of ministers understood that many of them got new orders and there might be something good. Many of them chatted about today's decision as the assistant of Wilson came in and gave him a letter which was stamped with a seal from King's office along with a decree. Wilson smiled and nodded, understood as he thought, "It looks like a lot of ministry portfolios have been confirmed and given out today." Wilson smiled and spoke to ministers in a mysterious way, "I think many of us will get some good news when we go to our offices tomorrow." Quill and John meanwhile were accompanying some officials in a drinking session to Hope Restaurant. While Frederick, Melanie, and Vlad were at the Floating Palace discussing their old days and other state-related matters.